Y'all, I cannot believe this video is happening. It's taken a lot to get here, but we're here. We're getting started. Woosah, I need to take a breath. I'm like having a Raven Simone moment right now, flashing back to 6-year-old me and recognizing that this is sort of a moment that I've prepared for my whole life. Kind of crazy. But anyways, welcome people. I'm sure you saw the title of this video, so you can see why I may be a little bit antsy and excited about this topic. I am officially starting my vet school application, and I decided that I want to take you guys along this journey with me. But first, I feel like you need just a little bit of a backstory to understand what you're getting yourself into, or to understand where we're starting, why I decided to start my applications now, and like my raw, real experience just starting my vet school applications. Okay, so let's talk about why it's taken me, I guess, so long in some people's eyes to get started. I graduated in May of 2023 with a Bachelor of Science in Biology. And the way that my academic support system set me up was so that I went straight from undergrad to vet school. However, I recognized this pattern of the more information I was learning and getting close to in my field, the more my perception of what I wanted my impact to be, or my purpose for the path that I was taking, wasn't aligning with what I was even doing it for, to be honest. So I halted. Additionally, it was not easy for me my senior year to afford vet school applications, even think about the process, because the big weight that I had on my mind in light of my experience in life was, where am I gonna go? What am I gonna do once I graduate? Like, yeah, I could have pushed myself to apply during my senior year, or I guess my junior. Actually, honestly, most people apply their junior year. I don't know how many months there's in between, but the amount of time in between me graduating and me starting, I would have been in the position to have to figure out how to sustain myself during that time. And then on top of that, my school didn't allow me to just take the classes that I needed to take and graduated. My school required me to take like 5 exams based on everything that I learned between biology, chemistry, in order to get the degree that I got somebody else to pay for. But I was in those classes learning in. Anyways, so boom. I was in a position where I had to move certain basic necessities in the forefront of my priorities at the time. And then additionally, on top of that, I was heavily battling in every way, shape, and form on my campus and in that environment, if I can be honest. It was one of the hardest things that I did, attending that university for the 4 years that I did and dragging myself to that finish line. Okay, so I say to myself, I love my education. I had to ask myself some really hard questions during that time, and I wanted to give myself some time to figure that out. One of the great things about my experience in college is that it taught me how capable I am and how strong I am as an individual. So it gave me the courage to say, I want to test out what I think I can do and what I think I can do with what I learned, and gain more experiences and information so that I don't have to go through what I went through before to get the education that I love, but also I can give myself the time that I need, or the room, to fully immerse myself in this path that I've dedicated my life to. And my God, I will need to make a whole video about this, but that was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. It was a hard decision, but it was the smartest thing I had ever done. And I need to say this for anybody that needs to hear it, but if you have a passion for something, but the voices around you or the perception that others have around you is skewing the love and approach that you want to have toward whatever that passion is, take a second to do the work. I don't know why anything or anybody in this world has taught us that it is not okay to want to take a second to refine your approach at something. To say to yourself, I don't want to be forced or pushed into this thing based on where I am in my life or based on my circumstances. I want to give whatever this thing is the best of me, the all of me, but I think that I need to know more. it is life-changing for you. And I'm not sure why so many people have been conditioned to think that that's not acceptable and that's not okay. But anyways, I had to learn to give myself that grace. And it was one of the best things that I ever did. During that time, I learned from over 15 different veterinarians what it was like going from being a student to becoming a doctor, and then what their experience has been like practicing for whether it be 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, or even the first 2 years. I was able to learn and avoid so much of what I know that I would have had to endure and experience if I'd just gone straight through to vet school, came out a doctor, and started working in a practice. On top of that, I had the opportunity to work in different places that specialize on different topics or species. For example, I've worked in places that only cater to cats. I've worked in places that cater to cats and dogs. I've worked in places that cater to cats, dogs, and exotic animals. And from that, I learned that if I were to go to vet school and then just come out and start practicing, I would have felt like a manufactured robot participating in a healthcare system that I honestly, personally don't fully agree with. Replicating a system, upholding that system that I aimed to improve, or that I aimed to bring new perspectives in, bring change to. So it was hard for me to realize that, but I recognized that I was taught that my ideal version of applying my passion was to become a veterinarian and then work in a clinic. But through my experience and through what I've learned, that seems like a miserable life to me. Like, I'm not saying that I would never go inside of a clinic or never, want to practice in one for some time. I'm just saying it was not my dream. That's not how I want to apply my DVM. And so from that, I started getting experience in other fields. I applied to work in biotech. I loved a lot of the information that I was learning from working there. Loved recognizing the skills that I had that don't necessarily have to be veterinary skills, but can be useful in my field in different ways. Then I started working in rescues. A lot of the animals that I planned to be saving, that's where their journey begins. And I wanted to know the perspectives and the information that families are getting when they're adopting their animals and what that process looks like. And I learned so much being in that environment. It was actually, honestly, probably one of the places that I think that if for some reason I didn't want to become a doctor, I might have created a rescue one day. Like, it seemed like something that is very real, very capable for me to do. It's not an easy thing to do, and it definitely is hard work. It's gut-wrenching work, and not enough funding is happening for it. But it seemed like something that if I wanted to work in nonprofit and I didn't have the goals that I had, it was something that I knew that I could thrive in a different world, in a different universe. But it also taught me a lot about the role that I want to play in my relationship with not just people's animals, and how I want to improve their relationship and the health of their animal. But it reminded me of the bigger picture that's happening in these human animal bonds, where when I was in the veterinary clinics, I kind of got tunnel visioned in just the medical world of things, and you forget the bigger picture of the world and how people are interacting with their animals on a daily, and how vastly different people's understanding of the basics are. Anyways, in that year, I went on a run, learning as much as I could in different areas within this field. And then on top of that, while I was learning all of these lessons, I got my first apartment for the first time. My boyfriend and I literally just hit a year in our first apartment, and we've already renewed our lease. While I have my professional self growing, I'm also growing as an individual and how I want to experience the world. When I imagine my relationships with my family in the future, when I imagine my relationships with friends, what kind of person do I want to be? What kind of spaces do I want to be in? I really started to bridge the gap between the image that I saw for myself professionally and the image that I saw for myself personally. And so that first year was so major in doing that for me, because I was literally terrified to apply to vet school, because I felt like I was gonna have to mask. I felt like I was gonna have to endure a lot of painful situations for the sake of getting my education and being able to afford a life while also participating in the passion that I've had my whole life. However, giving myself this year to be more thorough and be more intentional in my journey, I no longer feel like that. I know exactly how I want to apply myself in my field. I know exactly where I want to go and why. I know everything that I felt lost about before is so clear for me. And I'm so glad that I took this, I guess, risk betting on myself. So all of that to say, I didn't want to apply until I felt ready. And now I finally do. Once I felt aligned in my intention with the steps that I was making, when I started researching schools again, it started helping me narrow on my focus of, okay, which kind of programs actually match for me? Okay, where am I currently financially and where do I want to be financially? And which schools can I afford to go to based on those circumstances? Who do I know? I can tell you this much. My perspective of universities 100% shifted after I've watched the way that they choose to respond to natural disasters or peaceful protests. I'm clocking those universities. I'm serious when I say I'm intentional about where I choose to put my energy, what I choose to invest in. And yeah, I feel like I'm ready. This may not mean that I'm 100% a perfect candidate right now, but what it does mean is that I've done what it takes to make the university that I choose something worth it for me to dedicate all of my energy and effort into thriving in. Okay, so now that you have a little bit of context on what it took to get here, here's what you need to know about where I'm starting on my journey. I have one school that I want to apply to. It's the only school that I'm interested in. The school that's popped up as one of my number ones throughout my life as I've considered this journey. I have connections there, and I am fortunate enough to have a school that's in my state. I am manifesting that this application gets me into vet school and I can start at Virginia, Maryland. However, I have 3 other backup schools that I'll be applying to just in case, because it is slim pickings out here and that bottleneck effect is really a buzzkill. I go there for 4 years, I graduate, I create the idea for this really, really cool practice kind of world for this field. And I think that it will be a really, really, really great resource for people who want a professional to be involved in all parts of their fur baby's experience, from the moment that they're rescued to picking out the food that they rely on to nourish them and establish a history with the place that they can continue to get their checkups. I want like an all-in-one for people. So that's the journey that I have ahead. Right now, I'm just gonna focus on opening my VMCAS application. I've already created a Notion page that basically tracks everything that I've done from elementary school till now. It has my top 5 schools and like basically every single thing that I need in order to start my applications and get into vet school is all on one Notion landing page that I've created over like the last 4 years. In there, I did write down basically everything that I needed to know about the school that I'm interested in. What GPA they're looking for, what off of my transcript will or won't be accepted, where the exact location of the school is, what their application process looks like, the deadlines and the dates for the applications, and etc. So for Virginia, Maryland, today is actually the first day that the VMCAS opens. Yeah, I'm literally looking back at it right now. It says the VMCAS application for 2025 to 2026 opened January 22nd, 2025, and the deadline to apply is September 15th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. EST. It also says that there's supplemental fees for 2025 that are non-refundable. I guess the ability to start paying for them starts in May and it's due by September 15th. And they give a lot of information for people who live in Virginia, people who live in Maryland. So I guess for Virginia, Maryland, we're going to keep navigating this information together, but I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty of every step of my Virginia, Maryland application. So right now, I'm going to click Apply Now, create an account for VMCAS. And the first step that I'm going to do is log into my VMCAS. I honestly, I'm sure in college, like, I created an account and I started it, but I genuinely do not remember at all. And I haven't touched this since the day that I decided I need to reframe my approach to my passion. So yeah, this is a super duper huge moment, but I guess step one for me is making sure that I have an account. And there we have it. I have officially started my vet school application with you guys. There is so much more to this that we have to dive into. However, I am so excited that you guys are joining me on this journey. I will try to continue to give updates weekly about my progress in the application, everything that I'm learning. The next step that I have to do, I'm probably going to start loading in all the information that's necessary. And then I guess my first priority would be making sure 100% that I match the criteria to be able to apply. Therefore, the classes that they require, the letters that I would need, all of those little nuances. I need to go back, update my Notion template, and get fresh eyes on everything, because some of the information that I have on what's required to get into some of these places or do some of these things is fairly outdated. This will probably be the only video that is a little bit less structured, because I'll actually just be following through with the application process. So it'll be pretty straightforward. Here's what they require. Here's what I have. Here's what I've learned and what I need to do next. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned for more videos on my veterinary journey. And if the information that I gave you is useful, please feel free to comment anything that you would want me to add in the future videos. I am very happy to make sure that everybody's getting the most out of this experience. And then on top of that too, if anybody that's already gone through their application is watching this and has any advice for me, I would love to take it. But please be kind. I am very sensitive and always have the best intentions. And at the end of the day, this is my life. So I really prefer information that helps push me in a positive direction rather than humbles me in a negative direction. But I'm always open to growing generally. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this and looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye.